be identified next week. All right? Sagittal section of the brain, and you have the following. This is the cerebellum, and these are the arbor vitae cerebelli. All right? And this is the tent-like structure, which is the ceiling or the roof of the fourth ventricle. Okay? Oh, it's so funny. Hello. All right, and you go here. This is the corpus callosum, the white structure. All right? This here is the cavity of the lateral ventricle. And if you have good eyes, you should be able to see blood vessels here, which are not really blood vessels, but this is the choroid plexus, where you have the ependymal cells that secrete cerebrospinal fluid. All right? So you'll see a tuft of soft tissue there that looks like vessels. They are technically ependymal cells right here. Okay? Now you see here the border or the delineation of the third ventricle. Okay? Now, remember what we said about the third ventricle. There is a thalamus on one side and the thalamus on the other side. Okay? And you put them together like so, and you have a slit. Yes? So that slit is the third ventricle. Now, if your cut comes like so, you miss the slit. Okay? So eventually you're going to have a bag or a sac, which is going to be the third ventricle. Okay? Now, if you really cut in the middle, you don't have a third ventricle anymore. All right? Most of the time, it's very hard to go exactly in the middle, no matter how skillful you are. Right? So you will get to see that sac. Now, if I'm lucky, I might see it there. Let me see where was the cut. I think this is where we're going to find it. Okay? So these are the borders of the third ventricle, and this is the thalamus that makes the wall of the third ventricle. And if you go like so, you see where my probe is going? This is the cavity of the third ventricle. Okay? Because this cut was bigger, was thicker on this side rather than that side. All right?
Yes.
So the person who cut it, wasn't me, by the way. Well, it doesn't matter. I make boobies too. Was cut not in the middle. So you are lucky that you saw the third ventricle. Usually if you cut it right by the book, you should not see this. See here, this is the whole, this is solid thalamus. There's nothing there. All right? Now if you go like so, and you come out of the third ventricle, okay, if you go like here, and this again, because the section was thick on this side, see where my probe is going? My probe is going real quick. See where it's going? This is the aqueduct of Sylvius, or the midbrain aqueduct. Okay? So if you are courageous enough to cut this, and you see that it's a little darker than the surroundings because it's whole. Okay? There we go. Okay? I uncovered the aqueduct of the midbrain. Okay? Now, if you are smart, and I know you're all smart, you want to go from here, this should take you to, or from here if you want, this should take you out to the aqueduct of Sylvius. There we go. All right? Now we see the whole anatomy there. Take it out. Okay? And then you can see the other structures of the brain that we need to identify. So put this together. Okay? See where the structure was crooked? The cut was crooked?
Yeah.
For our benefit. So we'll learn more. All right? I like it that way. So you pull these down a little bit, and you see the four corpora quadrigemina. Okay?
Yeah.
The two upper and the two lower colliculi. Okay? So you see them right here. Two upper, and underneath you have the two lower. And this is attached to this by the arachnoid mater. You see where the blood vessels are?
Yeah.
This is the arachnoid mater. Alrighty? And obviously you can see the occipital lobe right here. Okay? So this is by the way, right? Speaking of, parietal lobe. Okay? And then when you put your scalpel here, your blunt probe here, put your scalpel here, and you pass with your finger like so. Put your finger here, run your finger. You see that dip? You see the same dip on this side too? Yeah. Okay? This is the central sulcus. Okay? So the central sulcus is right here, and you have one gyrus here, one gyrus there. Yes? Frontal lobe, two parietal lobes. Okay? Precentral gyrus, motor. Postcentral gyrus, sensory. Easy? And the gyrus runs all the way. You want to see another gyrus here, not very apparent. Thank you very much. This is the lateral sulcus, okay? That separates the temporal lobe from the parietal.
Send me the video. Don't you?
All right. Now we have the parietal, frontal, temporal, occipital lobes. These also should be identified. All right. Now we go back to the base of the brain where we see more structures. This is the pons. How did I know that this is the pons?
Because it's on the bottom of the cerebellum.
No.
The medulla.
No.
It wraps around the medulla.
No. You forgot already. I'm gonna remind you. Looky at the vertebral column. What is so peculiar? What is so peculiar here? Okay, everybody, get your hairs or your ears ready, because I'm going to pull them before you go home. If you see that red thingy, okay, this is the vertebral artery. And remember, this is the one that passes through the transverse foramina of the cervical vertebrae. Okay, make sure you delete that part. And the two vertebral arteries join together to make up the basilar artery. And the basilar artery runs in a groove on the pons. And I told you this is going to be on your test, and you're going to see it in the lab, and here it is in the lab. We are in the lab, and here you can see it. You see the basilar artery right there? And it makes, if you have good fingers, it makes a groove. Okay? So this is the bed in which the basilar artery sleeps day and night. All right? Okay. Now, if you pay attention, the cut was not evenly in the middle, was skewed a little bit, but this is the basilar artery right there. So this is the pons, okay? And you can see coming out of the pons, the huggers, yes?
Yeah.
The cerebellar peduncles, yes? Superior, middle, and inferior. And these are the peduncles here. They are embracing the cerebellum on each side, okay? And remember the spinocerebellar tract, they go up to here and they make a 90 degrees. They go here and they make a 90 degrees. All right? Because they sleep in the substance of the cerebellum. All righty? And then you find underneath here, I said, the medulla oblongata, which we saw before. And if you flip it over, I said, you see the two green or black olives. All right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you open this up and we go over this again. Here is the thalamus. Here is the boundary of the third ventricle. This is the aqueduct of Sylvius, or the midbrain aqueduct if you want. This is the inside of the lateral ventricle here. This is called the septum pellucidum. You see that thin thingy that I'm trying to get out?
Oh, yeah.
This is the septum pellucidum, separates the two ventricles from each other. Okay? And this is the thalamus, as said. Right underneath, you have the hypothalamus. If you looky from this side here, you should see the infundibulum, or the stump from which our friend, the pituitary gland, is hanging. Okay? But it doesn't hang in the air. It has a certain bed that was made in Turkey. Yes? The lateral turcica. You got it. Okay? Now, if you go further down, remember the superior and inferior curriculi, we can see them from the side here. From the cross section. So this is the one bulge here. This is the pineal gland right there. Okay? And if you put these together one more time, you should be able to see the two cerebral peduncles, which are parts of the midbrain. right? So the midbrain has the cerebral peduncles, and it does have the superior and inferior colliculi. Alrighty? All this becomes midbrain. If you sever the brain sagittally, you go down from here, you see that the midbrain has the canal of the midbrain, or the aqueduct of the midbrain, which makes sense because this is the midbrain, okay? And this is the rest of the midbrain. You flip it here. This is the peduncle right there. Easy?
Yes.
And arborvitae cerebelli. As said, this is a picture that's not very pretty of the fourth ventricle. This is the roof, where you have the triangle or the tent-shaped structure. And if you look from this side, you should see the floor of the fourth ventricle. And you have it here much clearer than that. Okay? So this is the floor right there. You see that little depression there? That's the floor. The one that makes a diamond shape. So the tip of the diamond, the V shape. And you see the olive on one side and the olive on the other side. And then the top goes like that. When you take across a sagittal section, it looks like a tent. It has an angle here. Okay? So the angle, and you have the bed right there. When you look from here, you see an angle. Now, the continuation of this is nothing other than, you see the dark line here? Yes? If you follow this line, this is the central canal of the spinal cord. Okay? Here, right there. This is the aqueduct of Sylvius. This is the third ventricle. And that's it, my friends.